Hi everyone, my name is Charlie and welcome back to a brand new Doctor Who YouTube video, where I continue my series of Doctor Who stories that I have written, aka my fan series. So far I have done 3 complete stories, Count Your Shadows, The Horror of Skaro and Blood of Silver, each revolving around one of the first 3 Doctors, and now I've decided to do Agent of the Daleks. So I did chapter 1 a couple of weeks ago and it largely gained a lot of viewers. It's close to 200 views now, which, I'm very happy with. So I thought, yes, I'd continue it with Chapter 2. So, last time on Agent of the Daleks, then we saw the Doctor and Sarah stumble into what they think is a parallel universe, where Davros, who now worships them along with an army of Daleks, sends them on a mission to hunt down the assassins of Daraka Prime, a lethal band of assassins who were basically trying to kill Davros because of all the horrible things he's done, and we eventually got to them going to a planet called Oceanus 5 to track down the assassins, and yes, they just appeared in their triangular spaceship, and, well, yes, we can expect a pretty cool battle scene, I think. So, I really enjoyed writing this, and please, if you do enjoy it, then like the video, please, and subscribe to the channel, and comment down below with your opinions on the video. I would really appreciate that as well. So, without further ado, let's do Agent of the Daleks, Chapter 2. Water began to fall off the metal platform as it rose out of the ocean, sides becoming steeper and metal darker. Windows began to appear, as well as a triangular shape, followed by small engines, fans, and a floor. The anger in the Doctor's eyes was replaced with worry. "The assassins," spoke the Doctor, as the hologram device rolled off the spaceship, which was now hovering 5 meters above the ocean. "I'll explain later, Sarah. We need to run." Davros sat alone in his ship. The bronze corridors refracted the glaring lights, turning it an eerie shade of cobalt. The only noises that could be heard were the distant firings of Dalek weapons. Blue-eye shimmering, Davros hovered his chair upwards, turning as he did so, and continued down the corridor to where he had been summoned. Continuing, Davros noticed the corridors becoming dimmer, tendrils of magenta-coloured energy writhing and slithering alongside the chair, pulsating and thrumming softly. Inching further down the now rapidly dimming corridor, Davros made out a wrought iron door, yet more swirls of energy surrounding it, guarding it. Intricated silver patterns lay adorned in its centre, with the letter M displayed clearly in its heart. Squeaking, the 2 doors rotated and revealed a room, the likes of which Davros had visited countless times before. Like glowing coals, 2 purplish eyes glowed in the shadows. "Davros," the figure spoke, cold and calculating as ever. "Come closer." The figure reached for the black sword that lay at his side, and grasped it in an armour-clad hand, metallic fingers curling around it. His arms flung upwards, before plunging the blade into the rock that made up the ground, illuminating the room in a blackish light. It revealed the Minister, clear as ever, his black armour adorning his tall yet slim figure, a crown of purple energy hovering over his head, flames licking the air. "Davros," he boomed, pebbles of black stone falling next to Davros's head. "You have disobeyed me." He pulled the now shimmering sword from the ground and stalked to the chair Davros sat paralysed in, its tip resting millimetres from his neck. "You shall commence phase 2, now." The wall shuddered, as Davros angled his head backwards and trembled slightly, blue eye recoiling into his head. "Yes, Lord," he spoke, timid and pathetic compared to the Minister of War. "Good," he crooned. The Minister turned on his heel, stalked into the shadows, and waited. The Doctor's legs burned, calves seeming to scream in agony as his legs pushed forward, spacecraft engines thrumming behind him in hot pursuit. Sarah ran next to him, breathing rapid, but she persisted. "Doctor," she panted, slowing to a jog. I can't run for much long." She was cut off by the explosion of a wooden plank behind them, splinters flying through the air, some floating into the emerald waters to their right. The weapons on the ship were aimed at the Doctor and Sarah, red beams of energy now firing and missing. A lot. Sarah, the Doctor noticed, as the end of his multicoloured scarf connected with a beam of red energy. He pointed forwards and slightly below, presumably a balcony in one of the luxurious sections of the ship, one of the resorts. When we get there, we're going to jump down and run inside. We may stand a chance. Okay, Doctor, Sarah agreed, continuing to push her legs forward, fire seeming to burn them from the inside. A few moments later, the Doctor leaped over to the white metallic railing and landed swiftly on the lower deck, as if it was second nature to him. Glancing back to Sarah, he watched as she leaped over and landed directly on her wrist, a sickening crunch following it. A scream sounded from Sarah's mouth, ringing throughout the Doctor's ears as he rushed to her, the spaceship just tens of meters from behind them, a looming black triangle still firing red beams of energy, unintentionally, into the emerald-coloured waters below them. "Doctor, my arm," she cried, a single tear leaking from her left eye as she stood, wrist hanging limp at her side, and began to run, Doctor in tow. "Sarah, I don't think it's the spaceship we need to worry about now," spoke the Doctor, corridor after corridor flying past them as they continued. He gestured to a nearby window, one which covered the ballroom they were currently running through, and Sarah inclined her head, hand still in agony, toward the window. Displayed was the spaceship, with 3 hatches opening at its sides. 3 figures, strange and ghoulish, were flying toward the window, crimson-coloured blades catching the twin sons of Oceanus, black capes billowing behind them like phantoms. The window behind them exploded, showering them in glass and rubble, cutting the Doctor and Sarah's faces, peppering them with cuts. The assassins landed swiftly, midnight capes still flowing behind them. "They must be the assassins Davros told us about," murmured Sarah, still wincing with pain, as she ignored the searing pain coursing through her hand, bones twisted and contorting as she ran. "Quite right, Sarah," confirmed the Doctor, glancing behind him to see the obsidian-black figures gain on them as he kicked open an oaken door and continued down a corridor, lush smells of cooking dishes wafting throughout his nose, distracting him temporarily from the coppery, tangy smell of the blood now dripping down his nose. "Doctor, in here!" Sarah gestured to a thick wooden door, almost 4 meters tall, adorned with intricated patterns and a large brass knob that turned with ease as the Doctor's hand wrapped around it, and they burst into another room. The Doctor and Sarah seemed to be in a grand and elegant dining area, ebony-coloured oaken tables arranged in columns, sheets the colour of fresh blood adorning them. A quartet of extravagant chandeliers resided on the ceiling, which curved and twisted so as to look like tree roots. Clear windows looked out onto the emerald sea sprawled before them, the waters dotted with small volcanic islands of amethyst and obsidian-coloured rock. The thing Sarah noticed most of all, however, was the assassin that had one ghoulish hand trapping the Doctor's, another holding a crimson blade against the Doctor's neck. "It's okay, Sarah. I don't know how he got here either." The Doctor's face was moderately calm, as if he knew what to do, but was just waiting for the right time, and indeed it was. The Doctor twisted his hands out of the assassin's trap, reached into a fold in his robes, and pulled out a golden cutlass the size of Sarah's forearm. The assassin lunged for the Doctor, who now stood in the centre of the dining room, fedora perched crookedly on his head, a grin on his face, sword clutched lazily in his hand. The Doctor parried the assassin's blow, and pushed his weight into his block, sending the assassin careening backwards, flipping over a table. "Is that all you have?" asked the Doctor, with a grin, raising one eyebrow. The Doctor lowered onto his haunches, and began to deflect another onslaught of attacks from the assassin. Evidently out of breath, the Doctor glanced to Sarah, and winked as if to say, "I have a plan." As if on cue, the Doctor threw his arm forward and released the golden blade he had held, flipping and spinning through the air, refracting chandelier lights into a million rays. It found its target and sunk into the assassin's wrist underneath his robes. He dropped his sword and it clanged to the ground. "I don't care what universe this is, whether it's an innocent person or someone such as Davros, you have no right to take his life." The Doctor ran through another door, Sarah in tow, and was gone. Following another bout of running from corridor to corridor and room to room, the Doctor and Sarah came to halt at a precipice overlooking the vast seas of Oceanus 5. The emerald oceans glimmered, causing the pair to squint. "Doctor, Sarah Jane Smith, we will kill Davros, whether you like it or not." "That's where you're wrong," spoke the Doctor confidently, and whispered something into Sarah Jane. She nodded as if in agreement. The Doctor inclined his head around to see the 3 assassins staring back at him, black robes billowing in the breeze. The central one, slightly taller than the others, stepped forward. He He clutched his wrist as if in agony. The Doctor and Sarah were cornered on the precipice, the bustle of the cities within the Valiant replaced with icy silence. The central assassin inclined his head and unsheathed the glowing magenta-coloured sword. Flipping it thrice in his hand, he charged toward the Doctor and Sarah, the other assassins in tow. He leaped into the air, graceful and lithe like a panther, and struck white metal, which singed and caught flame, as the Doctor and Sarah plummeted towards the seas, the sheer drop seeming like nothing to them. The Doctor, scarf flapping around himself, reached into the leftmost pocket of his oversized coat and pulled out a silvery metallic orb. Together, the Doctor and Sarah wrapped their hands around the orb, fingers curling over it, and twisted it. In a flash of blinding white light, they were gone. The engine fumes could be tasted for miles around, the thick, oily smell that needed all of Sarah Jane's power not to retch out the stench. The smells didn't help, the rotting, decaying smell of a street alley. Dim green lights hung in lanterns above the Doctor and Sarah, caked in grime and residue. The endless void that was this planet's sky hung ominously over the pair, as if they knew they were already nowhere to run. "Doctor, where are we?" questioned Sarah, brow sweating under the heat. The Doctor, grimacing at the ruin and desolation of the planet, whipped a cylindrical device from his pocket. The contraption was metallic, complex patterns and circuits emblazoned down its side. A luminous green orb lay at its top. The contraption was... it buzzed and hummed slightly, sounding oddly like an old cricket, before returning to the Doctor's pocket. "Ongrin," spoke the Doctor with disgust, wiping his brow with his coat sleeve and removing his fedora to reveal a mess of brown curls. "One of my least favourite planets." He stalked to a nearby wall, stones crumbling and cobalt vines creeping their way up its side. Sarah in tow, the Doctor removed a brick from the wall and examined it. More vines encircled it, and the weather had seemed to batter it for years, as its edges chipped and frayed over centuries. "Remember that planet I was going to go to before, Sarah? Etrin? Well, Ongrin and Etrin are complete opposites. Ongrin is a planet desolated by pollution, corrupt governments, and is now ridden with crime and hopelessness. This is the last planet you'd want to end up in." He threw his hand against the wall in frustration, and it plunged into the crevice where he just removed the brick from. The frustration in the Doctor's voice was replaced with curiosity as he removed his hand, which was grasping a familiar cylindrical metallic object. With realization, the Doctor's eyes filled with rage once more, and he threw his arm forward and released the object, sending it careening into a nearby wall. The distant sound of a click could be heard echoing throughout the alley, as the stream of blue light ebbed from the device, displaying a pattern of azure-coloured rectangles, backgrounding a single letter, O. It was promptly replaced, then, with an image of a figure clad in black armour, before it was covered by another figure who stood before the Doctor and Sarah. "Hello?" called the Doctor apprehensively, striding slowly towards the silhouetted figure. He stepped into the light of the lantern above him, and the figure smiled at the Doctor and Sarah. The man was tall and slim, and had close-cropped black hair, which warped and twisted around his face. A worn leather weapon belt was strapped across his chest, and his calloused hands held an obsidian black gun, which emanated with purple energy. "Hello, Doctor," he spoke, in a cold, gravelly voice. "I am one of the Khaled people. You need to come with me." The Doctor, shielding Sarah Jane from the man, spoke, voice wavering slightly. Who are you?" "My name is Davros." To be continued. So thank you for listening, everyone, if you're still here. I really did enjoy writing that. That was really fun to both write and record, actually. I tried to do more effort into the voices, and I didn't use an app this time. Anyway, yes, please do comment down below with your feedback on this chapter. I would really appreciate that. And there's another thing I'd like to address as well. I've recently hit a certain milestone in subscribers. You'll probably guess what it is, and I'm going to be doing a video, well, a channel update based on that this Thursday, so please definitely go and check that out on Thursday. Again, thank you for watching, everyone, and if you liked this video, please, well, do like it, and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy my videos. Thanks for watching, everyone, and goodbye.